Alright everybody, today is the day. We have finally gotten to look at the Xbox Series X and the PlayStation 5, and in this video, we're going to be talking about the most important upgrade in both of those systems and the biggest problem that we are going to have with them as consumers. Naturally, both of these systems are way more powerful than their predecessors were, and because of that, we're going to be able to get true 4K out of them instead of 4K upscaling, and then we'll get 8K, which is going to be an upscaled 8K, so it's not going to be a true 8K. But supposedly being the key word, we're gonna be able to get 4K at up to 120 FPS. Yeah, we gotta go ahead and burst that bubble there because neither of these systems are gonna be able to run 4K at 120 FPS. They may be capable of outputting 4K at 120 FPS, but they will not be able to graphically achieve that level of performance. For those of you out there who aren't aware of the importance of frames per second, I've actually done some testing with this with my brother, who's not really a hardcore gamer whatsoever, and switched him between 60 frames per second, 144, and then 240 frames per second, and tried to view how that impacts his connection to the game. And if you don't want to take my video's results as some sort of proof, then definitely look at Linus Tech Tips video where he took professional players and casual players and had them competing against each other in pretty much a scientific, controlled fashion. Now I'll link the video down in the description, but the results were pretty much blatantly apparent that having more frames can definitely improve your in-game capabilities. There's a good chance on these new souped up systems that are coming out that on lower resolutions like 1080p, we're going to be able to get close to 100 or 120 FPS. And this leads us into a really important but also somewhat complex question. Does your gaming monitor or television that you use output up to 120 FPS? And if you're curious and you want to find out, then just look up the model number for the monitor or television that you're using and see what the hertz rating is. If you're on a 60 hertz television or gaming monitor, then you're only capable of up to 60 FPS. 144 hertz means 144 FPS, 240 hertz means 244 FPS, you get the picture. If you're someone who just has an Xbox or a PlayStation 5 in the living room as an entertainment system for your kids to game on, and sometimes you game on it, or to run movies or shows, Netflix, etc., then you really don't want to worry about upgrading to an 120 hertz monitor or TV. The odds are everyone using that console isn't trying to become the next Fortnite Pro, and that next level of performance isn't going to make a major difference for them. But if you're someone who has an Xbox or a PlayStation and you take your gaming seriously, whether or not you have a television setup or a desk and a monitor setup, and you want the most performance possible out of these next generation consoles, then this video is for you. Alright, now that we got that out of the way, for everybody who's been asking, Airbear, can you make a video about the best TVs and gaming monitors for the next generation consoles? This is where our big problem lies. Do not run out and buy a brand new television that is rated for 120 hertz or a brand new gaming monitor that's rated for 120 or up to 144 hertz, and I'm gonna tell you why. First off, just because a gaming monitor says that it's rated for up to 144 hertz does not mean that it is capable of running 144 hertz on all of the different input options on the monitor itself. Now, what we are talking about is the fact that the majority of these gaming monitors, whether or not we're talking about like budget gaming monitor lineup or some of the higher end gaming monitors, are capable of running that 144 hertz or 144 frames per second, but they are only able to do that when they are using a DisplayPort cable. So the Xbox Series X is running HDMI 2.1 as the output, and more than likely, almost undoubtedly, the PlayStation 5 is going to be doing the same thing. Now what this means is that both of these new consoles are going to be capable of pushing out up to 4K at 120 frames per second. So if we take that HDMI 2.1 output straight into a gaming monitor that doesn't have an HDMI 2.1 port, we will not be getting the 120 frames per second that those new consoles will be putting out. So what I'm saying is, if you just go out and buy an 144 hertz monitor and it doesn't have HDMI 2.1, then you are wasting your money. Now there are a lot of televisions out, and it's almost common in all of your newer 4K televisions that they have HDMI 2.1 ports. If you enjoy gaming on a television or big screen, then go for it, because you will be reaping the benefits of these new systems. The only downside really to using a television versus a gaming monitor is the fact that you're gonna have a higher pixel response time time, which means you'll have a little bit more motion blur and it'll take a little bit longer for the images to become clearer and present on screen. And the majority of your televisions are gonna have a little bit higher of an input lag, meaning your actual input to the game and it happening on screen is gonna be just a little bit more delayed. Unless you're an absolute hardcore gamer and you want the best performance possible, for the majority of people, this isn't gonna make that big of a difference. Now for all of you hardcore gamers out there who want the lowest possible input lag, a 1 millisecond pixel response time, and most importantly, bare minimum, 120 Hertz. The majority of the gaming monitors that I find that are 144 Hertz and under $500 don't have an HDMI 2.1 port. And the ones that I do find that do have HDMI 2.1 ports are really expensive 4K gaming monitors. Now, my personal recommendation to anyone who's looking at gaming monitors for the new consoles coming out is not to look at 4K gaming monitors. The reason is that these new consoles aren't gonna be pushing 120 frames per second at 4K. More than likely, they will be pushing 100 frames per second or better, possibly up to 120 frames per second at 1080p. So for competitive players out there, we really need to be looking at gaming monitors that are capable of 1080p resolution, 144 Hertz, because there's not a lot of gaming monitors out that are set right at 120 Hertz, and they must have an HDMI 2.1 port. Now, whenever the new Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 are finally available for purchase, we're gonna get both of them and we're gonna test them and see which one performs better and how well they run at 1080p and 4K. But until these consoles come out, please, everybody, do not go run and buy the first 144 Hertz gaming monitor or 120 Hertz TV that you find. And this is even more important because these new consoles, although they're going to be capable of running up to 120 Hertz, it is going to be up to the game developers to properly optimize their games to utilize that 120 Hertz. The big difference here is that on PC, I can customize my graphics settings and optimize them to run at lower quality settings so that I can achieve higher frame rates. Now, on the other hand, for console players, we have not seen graphics customization options. So my advice to everyone out there who's excited for these new consoles to drop and the fact that they're going to be capable of up to 120 Hertz, let's wait and see what these consoles are capable of and what the game developers are going to do in order to optimize them so that we can utilize this new performance. Well guys, that's my take on it. I wanted to share my opinion as to the new consoles coming out, how we can possibly utilize their new performance, and the fact that we need to wait and see what they're actually capable of and be cautious because not all of these gaming monitors that are out run an HDMI 2.1. Most definitely the last thing we want to be doing is investing in a gaming monitor or TV that's not actually going to give us a performance benefit. But undoubtedly, once these systems finally get released and we get hands-on with them and we see what they're capable of, I will be making some monitor recommendations for you guys. I do hope this video has helped you, and if it has, please don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, share the content. It is greatly appreciated. Notification squad, you guys freaking rock. I look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Peace.
Thank you.